So I think it's nearly impossible to be on this personal growth, personal development journey, this expansion of consciousness journey, and not come across one of these frameworks that connects in some way to astrology. And I wanted to present this idea that might be helpful to you about how to relate to some different forms of astrology that are really popular right now. And this is not spoken to you as an expert or a master in any of these. And I think that's actually what gives me authority here, because I'm speaking about these topics from the point of view of someone in your shoes, someone who's on this personal growth journey and just wants to know how to sort heads from tails for some of these approaches and what can they offer you, what can they bring to you. So I was kind of an astrology agnostic, I would say, for many, many years. Like, if something about it felt really right, but it also felt kind of like complex and hard to approach. And on the one hand, really pop psychology-ish on the other hand. So I never really approached it in a real way until 2018, when I had my first session with what I'll call a real astrologer, a gifted, sensitive, intuitive human who had mastered this art and science of astrology, of understanding the influence that the cosmos can have on our inner and outer life. And it was through this session that my eyes were really open to how powerful this can really be as a tool. And like I always say, I say this again and again, your life is a laboratory. So take all information you get as a scientist would and kind of test it in the laboratory of your own life and see if it resonates as truth for you. If it's helpful for you in your evolution and your expansion, then it's useful, okay? And that's how I began to approach astrology. I had this experience that really, really helped me through a clutch moment in my life. Like, I don't know if I could have navigated this without the insights that I got from astrology, from this particular astrologer. And so my mindset and attitude started to change. And I started to see it as another lens through which to see myself. Beautiful, right? Then a few years later, a few years ago, on my radar, again and again and again, I kept hearing human design, human design, human design. What's your human design? What's your human design type? And I'm like, what's this human design stuff, right? So, okay, I'm a curious guy. I'm an open-minded guy. So I went and I started to explore human design. And again, I got this new blast of insight that really helped me through a specific moment in my life. And again, this is another astrological system that, it's built on and based on your birth date, time, and place, right? So in that sense, it's kind of like in this realm, in this umbrella of astrology. Okay, so there's human design. And then, this is the most recently, within the last 2 years, I kept hearing whispers of this framework called gene keys. Oh, Ben, I think you'd love the gene keys. Have you read that yet? Have you studied that? I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, here's another one. Let's see. And so I dove into the gene keys and mind blown. Again, fantastically relevant insights for my life that have helped me at just the right moment, work through a particular landscape. Now, but here's the deal. Does that mean you got to choose one or the other and that's it? Like, which school are you in? I would say no. And this is why I wanted to make this video, because I think there's others out there in my situation where you kind of want to get the benefits from all three. But how can you use and understand all three without necessarily being a master? Any three of these, you could spend an entire lifetime. You could spend multiple lifetimes going deep, deep, deep and still not master it completely. So I don't want to take away from that. So any astrologers out there watching in any of these three forms of astrology, full-hearted respect to you, because I know that what I'm about to share, any one of these three can offer completely. But I'm here as kind of like a representative of the everyman seeker. And how do I approach these three things to get the most out of them? So now I'm going to share for each one what I think they're best at for like the seeker, for the regular seeker in modern day times. What can I expect? What can I hope to get out of each of these without dedicating a lifetime of study? Okay? So here's my analogy. Traditional astrology, traditional Western astrology. And we're not even going to get into the different forms of sidereal, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So you can comment, but don't think that I'm not aware of that. But we're just talking about, in general, traditional Western astrology. Here's what I think it offers us up most easily among the three, which is, what is my baggage and what are my biases? Okay? I think traditional Western astrology, if you can get beyond just the big three, right? If you know, you know, and you get a little bit deeper into some of these other placements, you can get so much insight about kind of the baggage and the assumptions and the filters that you're bringing to the world. And where does this come in very handy? In the shadow work, in doing the deep inner work for understanding the blind spots that you might have. I have found traditional Western astrology to be extremely helpful for this type of work. Okay? Human design. What question does human design answer for us pretty quickly and pretty readily? How am I wired? How am I wired? This is amazing about human design. There are a few things, actually 3 things that, I think understanding your human design type and then these 2 other things can fast forward your development, your personal development, your spiritual development by years, right? And it's understanding your basic human design type, your basic human design strategy, and your basic human design authority. So strategy simply means how you should move about the world. How do you bring things about in the world? How do you manifest? How do you behave? Okay? And your authority is, how should you, based on how you're wired, what is the best way for you to make decisions? Is it from that gut feeling? Is it from emotional processing? Where in your body do you make these decisions? Beautiful, beautiful. And human design can tell us that pretty quickly. Okay? And then finally, I admit this third one is my newest fascination, which is the gene keys. And for me, this answers the question, how do I evolve? And what's interesting is that's a question from a collective voice, but also from a personal point of view. And the gene keys, it's quite complex and layered. It's a very slow process and a slow study. Gene keys are not the kind of thing that you can go online and get a quick chart and like you've got instant insights. It takes some patience and determination to kind of sit with it, feel it, and really be willing over the long term to explore these different insights that it can offer you. Okay? So I hope this is helpful. This is how, in my mind, I've kind of sorted the role that these 3 can play. Now, if you get especially fascinated with one of the 3 and it becomes your thing, then go all in, because the deeper you get, the richer it gets. But this is kind of a public service to you if you're maybe a little bit earlier in this journey and you're a little bit dizzy from all these systems and methods and programs out there. Like, how do I make sense of this? I'll sum it up one more time. Go to traditional Western astrology to answer the question, what's my baggage and what are my biases? Go to human design to answer the question, how am I wired? How should I make decisions? How should I act? And go to gene keys if you want to answer the question, how should I evolve? All right, let me know your insights from any of those 3, or if there's another that you want to add to that. Thanks for watching, and good luck.